Good.
So to start, as a sister, as it were, two brothers, it's very interesting. I love this movie because I was the baby, and so it's very interesting. And we're all 10 years apart. So
Oh,
watching this
wow.
movie, I was like, oh, this is probably how my older brothers felt when my mom was like, hey, now you're having a sister and you're both way too old for a new sibling. For
Yeah.
you, what was the joy of getting to not only like direct and create this movie, but the series, and get to work with Lily and figure out what that dynamic was going to look like between you two throughout the entire run of the show?
It was honestly just really amazing to get to know Lily because I love her as a human being outside of Harper and Hal, and it was really interesting. I find that the closer you get off camera, even if it's an entirely different relationship and dynamic, the closer you get off camera, the more it allows you to be close on camera. And so we actually didn't, it was really funny when we did our first scene together, and I, or like, even like the first take of the first big scene together, we were like, whoa, that was crazy. It was like we locked into, we knew the script well, and we knew the story, and we knew the dynamic, and we just kind of tapped into Hal and Harper, and it's very different than our normal relationship that we still have, but it just we were able to like lock in and be comfortable in it for some reason.
When How does, telling this story in a series help you when it is, most of the time stories like this are contained to like an hour and a half, 2 hour movie. But in a series, you guys get to live in it longer and you get to expand upon these relationships more, especially with Mark Ruffalo and the dad and all that kind of stuff. How was it getting to like figure out what that would look like in something like Helen Harper when you have more time with these characters?
That was my favorite part of the experience was I love I'm like I feel like a kid in a candy shop with TV. Like you can really go with your gut, and you can really um go down avenues that you feel called to go down. And I love movies, and fell in love with movies as a kid because I'm just obsessed with the idea of being in a dark room with strangers, being introduced to characters in the same sitting that you're experiencing their climax and resolution. But with TV, it's entirely different. It's like it's this experience that's tailored for you to go through it however you want to go through it. Like you can stop and you can start and you can dive in all the way or whatever. And I just I love TV for that reason, and I loved getting to picking and choosing what I wanted to see, or when I want where I wanted to flash back to, or what I felt like the audience needed to have this overall experience by the end.
Man, you have more creative freedom on this. Was that more daunting to you going into it, or was it freeing to know that like you had a say in how things were going to look and how things were going to go?
I always I think with Hal Harper it wasn't done because I felt so sure of how I wanted it to go, and I I didn't feel like I loved having all of the control. But with other things, I do find it daunting to have a lot of creative freedom. I think it's when you don't know things well enough, it's daunting. But Helen Harper and Dad I had been with for so long, and just wanted to get them out in a very, very specific way.
And how was it though working with your fellow actors, through directing and acting opposite them? What was Did it change the dynamic at all in those scenes, or was it just kind of like part of how you guys were filming this series?
It was kind of just part of it. Like, I I just I did we just had to I had to earn everyone's trust, and I had to um like let them know and get them to know that we're all operating on the same field and we're all on a team and we're all just trying to get this scene to feel the way it needs to feel for an audience to get the most out of it. And they knew that they could always ask me questions, and I think they knew they could always trust when I would say we're ready to move on. But I think the hardest part was them not hating me when I was like, I think we have to do it for a 12th time because
Mm.
it's not working. And I don't know why it's not working, but I just know it's not working and I think that we can get there. But yeah, I'm not a director that is like acting and then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, cut. Now let me think about it. I'm just I think everyone instinctually knows when something's working and when it's not.
When I love that we have like a now as a sample of two, but we hopefully it grows of two things where Mark Ruffalo is like in the midst of family drama like this. Like it felt in tone a lot like the kids are all right. Where I was
Yeah.
like, cool, like tonally, this is like the Mark Ruffalo I very much enjoy in these kind of stories. How was it, figuring out not only the character's dynamic with their father, but figuring out with Mark how this dad was going to be interacting with his kids and like his new family or everything that was kind of part of that storyline.
It's really interesting. I remember when I first met with Mark, it was the second time I met with him because the first time he hadn't read the script and I was just introducing him, or we were introducing ourselves and I sent it after. But then when we first talked about Dad and he had said yes to doing it, I I kind of was honest with him that Dad, out of any character in Hal Harper, was the most mysterious to me,
Mm.
and I really wanted to like give him the space to try things, and also wanted him to give me the space to like to know that I don't think we quite have it yet, and just like trust that like we might do 8 takes, but it's not because you're not doing an amazing job. It's just because I'm wanting to explore this this moment more and really just explore dad more.
Mm.
Um, and that kind of communication of not knowing, I think, was helpful. Like we both were able to kind of open our hearts to what to who dad was and how he was like one of our I remember like a huge breakthrough we had was why is he on the floor of his childhood house? Like, why is he just laying there? And it was Mark's. I'll botch how he said it, but like he was just talking about how it was this like misguided act of loyalty,
Mm.
like this kind of like how the only way he knows how to say sorry for what he did is just to lay there and know that like he's not moving and he's like dedicated to his wrongdoing. And then of course you realize that like he's stuck in the past and he's stuck in shame and he is capable of moving forward and he is capable of starting a new family. But I think first he has to realize how misguided this thing is that
Yeah.
he's doing.
Yeah, for last question, I do want to ask you. You touched on it obviously with my first question, but I love the brother how the brother and sister dynamic is because I feel like often they're either fighting or they have to kind of come together and figure out their lives where these two are like low key codependent on each other, and that
Yeah.
is like there are those relationships like I had that with my older brother, and like how important was that for you throughout the series to make sure that relationships like that get their time to shine in a show like Helen Harper?
It just was the show. Well, I think I honestly, so I have two little sisters, um, and we have our own very distinct relationships.
Mm.
But I think more than anything, I really, really hardcore identify and relate to Hal and Harper. Like I've said this that like if I had a sister that was 2 years older than me and as enabling as Harper, I would be Hal. And
Mm.
I really feel like if I had a younger brother who was just 2 years younger than me and was as desperately afraid of the pain of our childhood as Hal, I would be Harper. And so I think for that, like that was kind of the guiding light in terms of writing this show and like keeping the relationship true was just I related to them a lot and knew exactly what they would do with each other and how they would push each other away and how they would just and their rhythm that they were so accustomed to.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait for everyone else to get to see the series.
Thank you so much for talking with me. Sing Street's one of my favorite movies.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's from the off Broadway one. We found it like randomly at a
Oh, really?
yeah, that's the off Broadway poster.
I actually like I don't even I've never seen it. Is it like
It
all the same music?
yeah, but it was or I think so. Like my friends thought I ended up missing it, but they were like it's very similar. But
It's a I love that movie.
it's one of the best. I love it so much.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Thank you so much for talking with me.
Have a good one.